3 lunchbox notes would break Ellen DeGeneres' heart in ways she never imagined possible. The Ellen DeGeneres Show was buzzing with its typical afternoon energy at the Warner Brothers studio in Burbank. Ellen commanded the stage in her signature white button-down and navy blazer, her infectious smile radiating the warmth that had made her show a daily dose of joy for millions of viewers. The audience of 300 was on their feet, dancing and clapping to the upbeat music that filled the familiar studio space decorated with the show's iconic blue sky backdrop, fluffy white clouds, and swaying palm trees. "Welcome back, everybody," Ellen called out as the music faded, her voice carrying that perfect blend of enthusiasm and genuine care that had defined her hosting style for nearly 2 decades. Behind her, the famous white chairs with their sleek black wooden legs sat ready for another heartwarming conversation. "We have such an incredible show for you today, and I'm about to bring out someone very special, a little girl who has a story that's going to remind all of us about the power of a mother's love." In the green room, 8-year-old Emma Rodriguez sat quietly, her small hands wrapped around a purple lunchbox that looked ordinary, but contained something extraordinary. The lunchbox was slightly worn from daily use, decorated with butterflies and rainbows that her mother had chosen specifically because they reminded her of Emma's bright personality. But what made this lunchbox special wasn't its appearance. It was what waited inside each morning. Emma's mother, Maria Rodriguez, had died from ovarian cancer 4 months ago, but in a way that defied death itself, Maria continued to pack Emma's lunch every single day. Before her passing, Maria had prepared an entire year's worth of lunch notes, each one sealed in a small envelope marked with a specific date. Inside each envelope was a handwritten note filled with love, encouragement, and the kind of daily wisdom that only a mother could provide. The tradition had started 2 years earlier when Emma began first grade. Maria, a single mother who worked as a nurse at the local children's hospital, had wanted to make sure Emma felt loved and supported even when they couldn't be together during the day. Every morning, Maria would tuck a small note into Emma's lunchbox. Sometimes it was a joke, sometimes a reminder about an upcoming test, sometimes just, "I love you," written in different ways. When Maria was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer, she knew her time with Emma would be limited. But instead of dwelling on what she would miss, Maria focused on what she could still give. During her treatments, even on days when she was too weak to get out of bed, Maria wrote lunchbox notes, hundreds of them. She wrote notes for Emma's 8th birthday, for the first day of 2nd grade, for Halloween, for Christmas, for random Tuesday afternoons when Emma might need an extra reminder that she was loved. Each note was dated and sealed in its own envelope. Maria organized them by month in a special box with detailed instructions for Emma's grandmother, Rosa, who had moved in to care for Emma after Maria's death. The notes weren't just messages. They were Maria's way of continuing to be a mother even when she could no longer physically be there. Maria had spent countless hours crafting each note, considering what Emma might need to hear. She wrote notes for when Emma might be having trouble with math, notes for when she might feel lonely, notes for rainy days and sunny days. Some notes contained practical advice about sharing and kindness, while others were filled with silly jokes or drawings of butterflies. The process had been emotionally exhausting for Maria. Many nights she would sit at her kitchen table, writing note after note, while tears streamed down her face. She was trying to compress a lifetime of mothering into handwritten messages. But Maria had also found unexpected joy in the project, imagining Emma's future through the notes. For 4 months, Emma had opened a new note each morning, and each one felt like a small miracle. Her mother's handwriting, her mother's words, her mother's love arriving fresh each day, as if Maria was still there making lunch in their small kitchen. The notes had gotten Emma through her first day back at school after the funeral, through the lonely afternoons when she missed her mother so much it hurt to breathe, through the nights when she would wake up calling for a mom who would never answer again. But the notes had also become Emma's emotional lifeline in ways that concerned her grandmother. Rosa had watched Emma become increasingly dependent on the daily messages, sometimes rereading them multiple times throughout the day, carrying them in her pocket like talismans. The ritual had taken on an almost sacred quality in their household. Every morning, Emma would sit at the kitchen table with her lunchbox, carefully selecting the envelope marked with that day's date. She would hold it for a moment before opening it, as if she could feel her mother's presence through the sealed paper. But now there were only 3 notes left. 3 final messages from her mother, and then the lunchbox would truly be empty for the first time since Emma started school. The thought terrified her in ways she couldn't fully understand or express. As long as there were notes, part of her mother was still actively caring for her. Once they were gone, Emma feared that connection would be severed forever. Emma's grandmother had called Ellen's show because she didn't know how to help her granddaughter through this transition. Rosa had watched Emma become increasingly anxious as the notes dwindled, clinging to each one like a lifeline. The little girl had started rationing the notes, sometimes skipping days so they would last longer. A production assistant appeared at Emma's side in the green room. "Emma, you're up in just a minute, sweetie. Are you ready?" Emma nodded, clutching her lunchbox tighter. She had brought 3 things with her today: the lunchbox, the remaining 3 unopened notes, and a letter she had written to her mother that she hoped Ellen might help her send to heaven. "Please welcome Emma Rodriguez," Ellen announced, and Emma walked onto the stage to warm applause. The audience immediately embraced this small figure walking across the stage. Emma moved with a quiet dignity that seemed beyond her 8 years, though Ellen could see the slight tremor in her hands as she carried her precious lunchbox. Ellen's maternal instincts kicked in immediately as she knelt down to Emma's level for a gentle hug before they settled into the iconic white chairs. "Hi, Emma," Ellen said, her voice softer than usual as she adjusted her approach for her young guest. "That's a beautiful lunchbox you have there. Can you tell me about it?" Emma looked down at the lunchbox, then back up at Ellen with dark eyes that held depths of understanding far beyond her 8 years. "This is from my mom. She died, but she still makes my lunch every day." Ellen felt her throat tighten immediately. "Tell me about your mom, Emma. What was she like?" "Her name was Maria, and she was the best mom in the whole world," Emma began, her voice growing stronger as she talked about her favorite subject. "She was a nurse, and she helped sick kids feel better. She always smelled like vanilla because she used vanilla lotion, and she sang Spanish songs when she cooked dinner." "She sounds wonderful," Ellen said gently. "How does she still make your lunch every day?" Emma carefully opened her lunchbox and pulled out a small stack of sealed envelopes. "Before my mom went to heaven, she wrote me notes for every day. She put them in my lunchbox so I would know she was thinking about me. I've been reading them every morning for 4 months." The studio had grown noticeably quieter as the audience began to understand the profound love story they were witnessing. Ellen leaned forward, completely focused on Emma. "That's incredible, Emma. What do the notes say?" Emma pulled out one of the previously opened notes, her movements careful and reverent. "This one says, 'Good morning, my beautiful butterfly. Today you have math class, and I know you're going to do great because you're smart and brave just like your mama. Remember to share your cookies with someone who looks sad. Love you to the moon and back, Mommy.'" Ellen's eyes filled with tears as she listened to this 8-year-old read her mother's words with such love and care. "That's beautiful, Emma. How many notes do you have left?" Emma's expression changed, and she looked down at the remaining sealed envelopes. "Just 3. And I'm scared, Ellen. I'm really scared." "What are you scared of, sweetheart?" "When there are no more notes, it means my mom is really gone forever," Emma whispered, tears starting to stream down her face. Right now, every morning feels like she's still taking care of me. But when the last note is gone, then I'll just be alone. Ellen felt her heart breaking for this child, who was carrying such an enormous fear. She moved from her chair to sit directly next to Emma, wrapping her arm around the little girl's shoulders. "Emma, can I tell you something very important?" Ellen said, her voice gentle but firm. Emma nodded, wiping her eyes. "Your mom's love for you isn't inside those notes. The notes are just pieces of paper. Your mom's love lives inside your heart, and that will never run out. Ever." "But how will I know she's still thinking about me if there are no more messages?" Ellen thought for a moment, then had an idea that would change this moment forever. "Emma, do you think your mom would want you to be scared about running out of notes?" Emma shook her head. "No, she always told me to be brave." "That's right. And do you know what I think your mom would say if she could see you right now?" "What?" Ellen looked directly into Emma's eyes. "I think she would say that she taught you everything you need to know about love, and now it's time for you to start writing your own notes, not to yourself, but to other people who need to know they're loved." Emma's eyes widened with interest. "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe your mom left you those notes not just to take care of you, but to teach you how to take care of other people. Maybe she was showing you how powerful it is when someone takes the time to write down their love." Ellen turned to address the camera directly. "Ladies and gentlemen, this little girl has been receiving a love note from her mother every single day for 4 months. But I think it's time for Emma to learn that the best way to keep her mother's love alive is to share it with the world." She turned back to Emma. "What do you say we open one of those last notes together, and then maybe you and I can write some notes for other kids who might need to know they're loved?" Emma looked at the sealed envelopes, then at Ellen, then out at the audience. For the first time since coming on stage, she smiled. Not the polite smile of a grieving child, but the radiant smile of a little girl who had just discovered she wasn't as alone as she thought. "Can we really do that?" Emma asked. "We absolutely can," Ellen said. "Your mom taught you how to love through those notes. Now you can teach other people." Emma carefully selected one of the remaining envelopes, and with Ellen beside her, opened it slowly. Inside was a note that read, "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, it means you've been brave for many days without me. I want you to know that every time you help someone else, every time you share your beautiful smile, every time you show kindness to another person, that's me living on through you. You are my greatest gift to the world. Love always and forever, Mommy." The studio was completely silent except for the soft sound of people crying. Emma looked at the note, then at Ellen, then out at the audience of 300 people who had become witnesses to her mother's eternal love. "Ellen?" Emma said quietly. "Yes, sweetheart? I think I understand now. My mom didn't just leave me notes. She left me instructions for how to love other people the way she loved me." Ellen pulled Emma into a tight hug, overwhelmed by this child's wisdom and resilience. "That's exactly right, Emma. Your mom turned you into a love note for the whole world." The audience rose to their feet in spontaneous applause, not because they were prompted to, but because they had witnessed something sacred, a little girl's transformation, from fear to understanding, from loss to purpose. Ellen made an announcement that would define this moment forever. "Emma, I want to help you start something special. We're going to create the Love Note Project where kids can write encouraging notes to other children who are going through difficult times, and you're going to be our first official Love Note writer." Behind the scenes, Ellen's team immediately began organizing what would become one of the show's most impactful charitable initiatives. The Love Note Project would eventually reach thousands of children in hospitals, foster care systems, and difficult family situations, all inspired by Emma's mother and this 8-year-old girl's courage. 6 months later, Emma returned to Ellen's show with an update that brought tears of joy to everyone in the studio. She had written over 200 love notes to children in her local children's hospital, the same hospital where her mother had worked. She had learned that her mother's former colleagues remembered Maria fondly and had embraced Emma as an honorary member of their team. "How do you feel about the lunchbox being empty now?" Ellen asked during the follow-up interview. "It's not empty," Emma said, with confidence that amazed everyone who heard it. "Now it's full of letters from kids who wrote back to thank me. Mom's love is still there, but now it's growing and helping more people." Emma had kept the 2 remaining unopened notes from her mother, she explained. But now she thought of them differently. "I'm saving them for when I really, really need my mom's voice. But most days I can hear her in my own heart when I'm helping other people." Ellen hugged Emma again, marveling at how this child had transformed her grief into a mission of love. "Your mom would be so proud of you." "I know," Emma said with quiet certainty. "I can feel it every time I write a note to help someone else feel better. Because sometimes a lunchbox isn't just about food, it's about nourishment of a different kind. Sometimes the most precious inheritance isn't money or possessions, but the knowledge of how to love fearlessly and consistently. And sometimes an 8-year-old girl can teach an entire world that the best way to honor someone's memory isn't to cling to the past, but to let their love flow through you into the future." Maria Rodriguez's love lives on not just in those carefully crafted lunchbox notes, but in every encouraging word Emma writes, every smile she shares, every heart she helps heal. The lunchbox that once carried a mother's daily messages now carries something even more powerful, a little girl's understanding that love multiplies when it's shared, and that the best way to keep someone's memory alive is to become a living expression of everything they taught you. In a television studio that day, a lunchbox became a symbol of eternal love, and a little girl became proof that the greatest gifts parents give their children aren't the things they provide, but the examples they set and the love they leave behind to guide them long after they're gone.